name's Doug Rogers. I'm the owner at Slabtown. I'm the bass player in Red Shadows. February 2012, so almost 2 years. Oh, fuck. For me, I think the biggest challenge is trying to find that balance between what's commercially viable and will pay the rent and wanting to give a lot of new bands, a lot of untested bands, a lot of bands who may not have developed a really strong draw yet, give them the chance to get out there and play some shows here. I think financially, that's the biggest thing for me, is just trying to find that balance between going out and getting, really big bands that are going to bring in a lot of people, when really, I come out of the DIY punk scene and my heart is in those bands that are playing basement shows and are, those incredible bands that nobody's heard yet, that nobody knows, and trying to bring them to light, is a difficult thing to do. Trying to put on live music, 4 to 7 nights a week is a challenge. Yeah, I guess. You get to see shows every night. You get to see those bands when they're playing their first shows. You get to see them when they're untested, and you get to see some really, really good bands too, that have been around for a while. I've had a chance to bring in some of my favorite bands, and I started doing shows back in, I don't know, like maybe 1990 or something in Humboldt County, and like the whole time that I've done live music, it's always been, there's that joy of getting to work with people that I've always looked up to, the people that I admired when I was growing up, who were musicians and artists, and getting a chance to put on shows with them, but at the same time getting a chance to put on shows with some of those bands that other people haven't heard yet, and I get to experience that all the time. I love the creativity, I love the scene, I love the weirdos who show up at the shows. I love loud music, and even doing it 4+ nights a week, it doesn't really become a grind for me. I fucking love being part of the scene and being around it all the time. Yeah, I grew up in San Jose, and I was a kid who was picked on a lot. I grew up in the 80s and the Reagan years and got into punk then, and it made me feel really tough. The shows were really, really fucking violent, and I liked being part of that. I liked the fists flying down in the pit. Made me feel big, made me feel strong. For a kid who'd been kicked around a lot. And then I went up to Humboldt to go to college, and I got involved in college radio up there and started putting on shows up there and started playing in bands up there. And I've just been part of that DIY scene ever since. I think that, there was a really, really good post-punk revival that was going on here for a long time. I love our garage bands. I think the queer scene here is really, really good. Probably one of the most creative parts of our scene right now, the music that's coming out of that. I like the energy that the young kids have, that it's like, the kids who show up at our all ages shows, they were raised on a lot of the bands that I was listening to in the 90s, and it's been really, I don't know, it's really weird to listen to bands that have, they grew up on Jawbreaker and or you know, the Dead Kennedys or Black Flag had already been broken up when these kids were born, and you know, having them raised on that stuff, you know, they bring a lot of a different energy, a different creativity to things. I like the fact that a lot of the bands aren't just influenced by punk rock anymore. There was a time when I think we were really kind of like myopic or solipsistic as a scene, where we were just kind of inward looking and self-referential, and it's really good to see a lot of the bands that are coming out that are influenced by a lot of other things besides just punk music, or just garage, or just this or just that. I really dig that stuff.
Cutting loose, he's drinking juice.